I've made about 6 times more money in the past 2.5 years of my entrepreneurial career compared to the first 4 of my journey, using this weird strategy. And it's partly due to getting into AI, and it's partly to do with weird stuff like Call of Duty. Call of Duty.
Huh?
And so in this video, I'm going to explain how I've used this weird Call of Duty strat that I learned in high school when I was playing Call of Duty with my friends, and how I've taken that exact strategy to move into the AI space and repeatedly used this and applied this strategy to get a lot richer than I ever thought I'd be able to be. So I don't like saying those words, rich and this sort of stuff, but I mean, it's got your attention now, hasn't it? So stick with me, because this has seriously been a game changer in my career. And I know all of you, this is really like the easiest way for anyone to get into AI, start an AI business, is using the strategy here. So stick with me. It might seem a bit weird to begin with, but I promise you it's going to make complete sense. And this is really the strategy that I've used. Basically, everyone that I've seen who's doing well in the AI space has used this in some way, and I'm going to give you example after example after example. And at the end of this video, I'm going to be giving you a super clear shot of how you can apply it right now, or how I would if I was starting again, to get into AI and also build a business and get rich, or whatever you want to do with your life in this space. So it's going to start off with, firstly, a bit of a weird clip. This is never thought I'd be pulling these things off on YouTube, but here is one of my all-time greatest COD clips from back in 20-something. Oh, did I hit? Ready? I hit this. Ready? All right, so that's clip 1. That was all right. What do you think? Now, if you look carefully, there is a pattern that emerges when we look at the second clip. Alright, you may be wondering, how did a guy who's that cool and that proficient at sniping end up making business advice YouTube videos? And sometimes I ask myself that too. But spawn trapping is a technique used in Call of Duty to basically get a lot of kills quickly, to get those quad feeds and get a lot of kills so you can make clips out of it. It used to be a whole thing. And so here's the map of Nuketown, that last clip that we just played. And basically, you'll see how this ties into business in a second, and I promise you it is worth the wait. So at the back of the map here, Nuketown, this is Nuketown, it's a good example because it's quite a small map, but you have these spawn areas where if you die somewhere in the middle, the game is going to respawn you back in the corner of this map somewhere. So usually you'll be like kind of behind this little wall. In this case of that clip you just saw, I was standing in this garage here and I was shooting down to this part of the map here. So people spawn in here and run around. But the thing is, if you stand too close to the spawn, so if I'm standing here, then it will flip the spawns and they'll start spawning behind me. So the art of spawn trapping is getting yourself in a position where, as they are running out of the map and they're all spawning in, you are far enough away that you're not going to trip the spawn and it's going to force it to move somewhere else due to your proximity. But equally important is that you have a clear line of sight of where those people, when they spawn out, are going to run. So as you saw in the first clip, they were coming around that corner and I was shooting off the roof. And in that Nuketown clip you just saw, I was camping in the garage, shooting as they ran out of the spawn there. So how does this spawn trapping and Call of Duty stuff apply to business, particularly AI business and getting into the space? And how have I and others used it to make a lot of money? Well, I'm glad you asked, because the thing with the AI space is that there are so many new technologies and new breakthroughs coming out all of the time. And essentially each one of those breakthroughs represents a new person spawning in. A new breakthrough or new development has spawned into the space, and it's a new opportunity for you to go and take advantage of it. In the case of the game, kill it. But in the case of your career and journey in the AI space and business, it's a new opportunity that has arrived. And this entire strategy that I'm teaching in this video is about spawn trapping or camping the opportunities as they come out of the AI space. So say OpenAI makes a new release, they put out a new model, or there's new technology that comes out, for example VO3. You might have seen some of the Bigfoot and Yeti clips and all of this AI generated video stuff. That was a big advancement, and in one moment there was a sort of step change in the technology, and that basically revealed a whole bunch of new use cases that could have businesses built around them. So the best way to envision this is with like a step change graph. So say here with the image generation, or video generation is a good one, because most of you probably seen those Yeti clips. So video generation within AI was kind of down here for a while in terms of the feasibility. So at some point, there's like a dotted line of the level that a technology needs to be at in order for certain business types or business opportunities to become possible with that technology. Video generation up until the VO3 release was down here, just putting along. It was kind of like on the edge, not really super accessible or easy. There wasn't good consistent character creation, a lot of problems with it. So people were only really using it for a few different use cases. We knew where it could be, but it wasn't good enough at that time to be able to do a lot of the things that people knew they'd be able to do at a later date. And when this new model came out, suddenly how good it was, we'll just put that there, it jumped up massively, and this is called a step change. It's a tech dude term. So instead of being a kind of gradual increase where like it just gets better over time, this is where it's kind of been going up for a bit and then just a big jump up. So that's a step change. And in this case with the VO3 image generation model, we had a step change, and we've had them over and over and over again. And what that presented is what I call the fertile plains. Fertile plains. And so it's this area here. Oh, this is going to look nice. That as soon as this new technology is released, it presents this enormous opportunity where it's just like waiting for people to build businesses and to get good at it. And so I use the fertile plains analogy because it's like, imagine you've just come over to America and you're looking westwards in America over to the sort of frontier and where all of these fertile plains and sort of untapped resources are. That's how it is every time a new thing comes out. And so VO3 is an example of a new technology creating a step change where suddenly all of these businesses that were not feasible down here, it's past this threshold for practicality. It's basically jumped up past this threshold of practicality or feasibility for a lot of the use cases. And suddenly there's all of these new ways that you can build businesses around it. Like you can have these AI filmmaker studios, or you can be creating courses on it. And I'm going to go into all of the different ways you can monetize it in a bit. But essentially, each time there's so much new stuff coming out in the AI space. If you follow any of those freaking Instagram pages, you're going to know it's like, this week was crazy in AI. Here's 10 things that happened. Like if you just follow those pages on Instagram and keep tabs on what comes out, and that's how you can keep tabs on the space and apply the spawn trapping strategy to your career and in order to start a business in the AI space. So just to summarize all of this before we move on, because I'm going to share how I've done this over and over and over again and just sort of jump my career up each time I've done it, and how a bunch of other people that I know and that you guys can go and research yourself have also done it. But we have this on the axis here is like the ability, capabilities, or practicality of a technology. I think the power or practicality is probably the best way to put it. But in the case of the video generation opportunity, AI video generation, VO3, the Google model, created a step change when it came out. They just immediately flew over the top of all of the previous ones that we had access to. And that crossed this threshold of practicality that made many, many, many use cases or potential business opportunities possible, because it could now do sound with it, or it could do consistent character generation. And you were going to see an explosion on this fertile plain of businesses, as we're already seeing, of people taking this technology and moving on it. And so the idea of the spawn trapping strategy is that just like me standing here in the garage waiting for it, you can be very smart and monitor the AI space if you're looking to get in for an entry point that is basically going to reset things to zero. That is really the key thing about this, that when there is a big jump like this and new technology, either like an entirely new type of AI stuff comes out, VO3 is an improvement in the video generation. The GPT-4o image generation model was likewise a step change in the capabilities of image generation. But sometimes you also just get kind of an entirely new technology that comes out, like AI voice agents did over a year ago, and they sort of burst onto the scene and they were this new thing. And so that's kind of the two types of different opportunities that you can spawn cap, either just entirely new spaces that pop up, like AI voice agents were at the time, or these step changes in technology where a new model or a new release from one of the big providers in most cases creates a step change that creates a fertile plain for people to innovate on. And the next thing that you want to know now is how can you actually make money or take advantage of a fertile plain, which is the next part of this video. So the thing that makes the spawn trapping strategy so powerful for anyone trying to get into AI, not if you have like a PhD in AI, but just anyone who wants to get in. Literally, if you just have a brain and a work ethic, anyone can do this stuff. And I've seen it happen over and over and over again, as I'm going to cover in the next bit of this video. But what you have to understand about pretty much all of the AI stuff coming out right now, it is not only the field of the technical people. It's not the developers and the super like nerdy guys who are the only ones able to make the most of this. All of this stuff is accessible through no-code tools, which we're going to get into in a bit. But basically, if you have a brain and if you're willing to work, when these new things come out, it resets the expert bar basically to zero. And everyone has to relearn on the new technology, on all of the new opportunities that come out of, say, the improved model. So when VO3 comes out, say we had a graph here of all of the people in the world and their capabilities with video generation. So it's probably not the best, but basically here's like the 0.1% of people who are really, really good with the earlier pre-VO3 image generation, or video generation, sorry. And then the majority of people obviously are going to be down here and have basically no skills or very minimal. And so there's very few people here. And so these guys will have got really good at using and kind of hacking together the existing video generation tools like Sora and Runway and others. And they would have got really good at using them in that current form. But when we have a step change or a massive jump forward, like we did with VO3, that graph basically gets reset to Zero. It's pretty much flat. The benefit and edge that these people had here gets chopped down, and it's pretty much a level playing field. And so you suddenly have an opportunity to become an expert, a relative expert, because within 3-6 months, this is going to move to something that looks a bit more like this, right? And so you have a chance to join in here at the bottom with everyone else and very rapidly climb up to the top. And within 3 to 6 months, you are at the tippy top, basically, in the 0.1% again. That is really the key thing that I want you to take away from this, is that every time there's new stuff coming out, it's pretty much reset, just like the whole AI space as a whole. Like all of these PhDs in AIs, sure, they might have had an understanding of pre-ChatGPT AI, but the reason people like myself and many of you watching this as well have been able to come in and become experts in their field, and for me, it's been how AI can help businesses. It's because it reset the playing field to zero. This generative AI stuff was so new, and it was so natural language based that there was no real technical barrier to it. And it was so different to every other form of AI that we'd had before that it created a level playing field. And I went all in, and that's how I've been able to have my success. And that was the first kind of fertile plane that I got on, just post ChatGPT release. But this thing happens over and over and over again, where it resets the bar to zero. There's new technology, and it's those who can move fast, learn the tech, and be able to turn it into products and services and really share with the world what they can do with it, that can make a lot of money and build a lot of influence fast. So how do you actually do this? How do you actually get into a new thing like, say, VO3? And how do you end up being here? Well, it's a pretty simple process. One, you're just going to wait for new stuff. Like I said, if you follow some of those Instagram pages that is like 10 new AI things that came out yesterday, a lot of it is going to be hype and rubbish just because these guys like to make a lot of content. But if you're just monitoring it, you will start to pick up on what the trends are. Okay, video generation's picking up. This is a new big model from Google. I'm going to do a little bit of exploration on it. So that is part of the strategy of finding the new thing. And so two, once you have found something that you think is worthwhile, in this case using VO3 for video generation, you become a sponge. And you just go and soak up every bit of information that is out there on this right now. All of the like niche YouTube videos of people just making videos on it, all of the new stuff, figuring out what it is. You try to get access to it and play around with it as much as you can. You start to think of how you can use it for different, usually business use cases are best. Anything related to how businesses can use new AI tech is where the money is going to be. So you just become a sponge and you soak it all in and you apply it to your own problems. You tinker around with it. And that is how you very rapidly can become one of the leading, maybe not experts at this point, but definitely one of the leading users or people who are most familiar with this and what it's capable of. And so in this third phase of tinkering, you're essentially going to figure out how to use that tech for various different use cases and basically come up with your own methodology on how to use it. So it might be, oh man, I figured out you could prompt it here and then you could like reprompt it with this and then you can use this feature to get this. And you are basically building a methodology or a special technique around this new technology that is unknown to others. You are able to get more out of it than others. And that in itself is valuable that you could start selling as information, which is basically what you're going to do in order to kick off your career or movement into the space. So step 4 is to then create a ton of content around that thing. So how I used VO3 to do XYZ, like how I used it to make a full movie, how I use it to make Yeti and Bigfoot videos. When you are actually at the forefront of exploring what this new tech can do, you are essentially discovering things and creating videos around them that there is zero competition for. I've done this over and over and over again, which I'm going to show you in a second. But when you're at that cutting edge and you've jumped on something quick, there's no competition for that stuff. Or at least if you are actually innovating and showing how you can stretch it, there's no one else doing that. And that's how I've had some massive videos as soon as new stuff comes out, just absolutely ripped and got a huge amount of views and grew all my businesses rapidly and my personal brand. And so you go between this tinkering and content sort of seesaw back and forth, learn more stuff, share it, learn more stuff, share it. And then if you're any good, you'll be getting views and you can then monetize those views. How can you monetize it? Well, you can do consulting calls. This is going to be a phone and get paid for them. So I started off doing consulting calls when I got on YouTube and I was basically doing the same strategy. And I started off charging $300 for 45 minutes and I started getting booked out on those. And so I jacked it up to $500. I kept getting booked out on those and eventually put it up to $997 for 45 minutes. I'll put the screenshot up on screen so you know I'm not bullshitting. People were paying me $1,000. A guy on YouTube with about 10,000 subscribers at that point, they were paying me that much to talk to me for 45 minutes about this niche kind of way of using ChatGPT to talk to your own data in a business setting. The other way to monetize it is going to be through a course. I don't know how you draw a course. Maybe we do one of these. So we're going to monetize it through a course. And you can say what you want about courses. If you are just trying to sort of get things off the ground and you've got a lot of buzz in the space you're doing, make it a little like $97 course on how to make Bigfoot videos or something. I've seen people doing that on Instagram. If you have the traffic and people want it, it makes sense to make a better educational product. My approach has been to do services first. So that's kind of the final one that I'd mention here, is that you can get to kind of building things and charging probably a lot more than courses or consulting, but these can actually all lead into it. And the thing is, a course or consulting course, well, in my case, my consulting course ended up leading to starting my agency, Morningside AI. But educational material like this as well, it can all kind of lead into an agency that you build. An AI automation agency is what I started off with, the model that I created, and that's what everyone is using to get started in the AI space with implementation of AI within businesses, or what you probably know as development. A other thought of development or implementation might sound scary to you if you're non-technical. This myth that you need to have development skills in order to build things with AI has been really lifted. I've done a lot of clarification over the past few years about how the low-code and no-code technology that's out there, what's typically called no-code AI automation, is something that you could take, in this case, the VO3 image generation model, and with some basic AI automation skills, which I'll share how you can. I've got a full free course that I just released on that recently. But you can take those skills and then use it to tinker with this technology. And in this tinkering phase, you're using those no-code AI automation skills to experiment and push this further. Can I make automations that can sort of crank out heaps and heaps of YouTube shorts or build even long-form YouTube videos? And the tinkering, if you know a bit of AI automation, can actually lead nicely into being able to take those same skills and build things for businesses. So the monetization through consulting calls, or like a little course to help people know how to use it as well, and sort of that methodology that you picked up in this phase, you can sell that to people who, as long as you've got the traffic coming in through the content. And then there's of course the development opportunity of helping people to build things, which is going to be a lot higher ticket than either of these. And so quickly, just to kind of drive this point home that I'm actually know what I'm talking about here, and I've used this over and over again. If we go to my channel, let's go all the way back down to the very start. Where is it? Right, so I started my channel off and I just started making anything that would stick. Anything that I was interested in, I would nerd out on. I started making videos on like fine-tuning GPT, and people were really interested in that. I was like, okay. And then I looked into sort of these more tutorial-based videos, some challenge videos, and then I hit onto this vein of these custom knowledge chat GPTs. Now you'd kind of know them as an agent with a knowledge base, but I figured out that these kind of videos for this topic was really, really interesting. So this was a fertile plain that I identified, and I just started hammering out tons and tons of videos on it. How to build a custom knowledge chat GPT, how to train chat GPT on your data and chat via Slack, how to create local chatbots, create your own chat GPT with PDF data in 5 minutes, lang chain tutorial, hybrid chatbots, private GPT. I just started hammering on the same point. And that really took my channel off from sort of 5 to 10 to 15 to 20,000 subscribers. And I was able to get Morningside AI, my agency, off the ground based off the leads that came from those videos. We were just making these custom knowledge chatbots for people, as I was already doing in the video. And then a second fertile plane that I jumped on was the AI business and AI automation opportunity that I spotted, gave it a name, and I just rode that to the point where OpenAI released their GPTs. And this was a very big deal. It sort of pulled all those custom knowledge chatbot things in, took out hundreds of startups in one go. But basically they released this new platform called GPTs, which you may be familiar with. And when those came out, I just went all in. I was cranking out like 3-4 videos a week. This one 100k views, 500k views, 200k views, 200k views, and I just kept hammering that same thing, and it grew the channel rapidly, and I got to 100,000 or more subs off the back of this. And then I made a whole video around it and got 1 million views. So I did that again, and then we came to voice agents, and they came out. Here we have 100,000 views. Here we have 100,000 views. Here we have 60,000 views. Here we have 70,000 views. So I just jumped on the back of these trends as they came along and rode them. And I was camping the fertile plains, and we would get leads through my agency. I would get massive growth in my channel. So I was actively applying the spawn trapping method. So as soon as something new came out that I knew was going to be big, I was all over it. All over it. And so this video, for example, 432,000 views. I just figured out, I was tinkering, and I was sort of at the edge of knowledge for what these GPTs could do. And I figured out how to put a GPT on a website. And it was this like super rinky-dink, like Replit method. But I was the first person to connect that. And I was just following my own curiosity. I was like, how could, man, I know there's going to be a lot of interest here. How could I put it on a website? I know there's just going to be a big use case. And so I figured it out. And so I made this video. It was very timely. I made it 15 minutes, nice short one, good thumbnail, and it just absolutely ripped. It was like 200,000 views in the space of a few days. And then because that worked, I doubled down and I made an advanced tutorial, and I went even deeper and figured out stuff that no one was doing with it. So this is the formula, and I can show you other people. So we have my friend here, Yanis Moore, and you guys may know him for voice AI. Basically, he started getting into voice AI as that sort of new fertile plane opened up, and he just went ham on these Vappy videos. And so he was able to get a really good run in here with these. 39k views, 7k views, 10k views, And he was able to steamroll his agency from there to hiring a bunch of devs under him to doing 60K in a single month through AI, custom AI development services. And now worldwide, he'd be one of the smartest people when it comes to voice AI because he's rode that, he's made a lot of content about it, and he's really established himself in that space now. So I can give you example after example after example of people who have done this. Another one, Nate Hook, both Yanis and Nate were members of my accelerator, and they have taken the same strategy that I've used. And in this case, you can see Nate has just gone all in on the N18 trend, and he's been absolutely ripping it and dropping really, really good content and just riding that trend super hard, and he's become the N18 guy. So this thing works. I really want you guys to just pay attention to this. If you can just wait for a new thing to come out, you jump on it as soon as it gets there. All the experts get basically reset to zero. You just go all in on being a sponge for that, tinkering around with it, seeing what you can do with it, make content around the cool stuff you do with it, and you can become a category leader or a category king for that new type of technology. And you might not want to stay there forever. You might just jump into something else, like I did over and over and over again. But that is the way to rapidly get views and attention, to learn a ton about it, to start to get consulting calls or sell a course, or to start offering implementation with an AI automation agency. That is the strategy. And that is why, to my mum, I hope you now understand why I played all that Call of Duty, because I was just prepping for my later career as an entrepreneur and YouTuber, I guess. So yeah, that ended up being a bit longer than I thought, if I'm honest, but hope you got some value out of that. If you want to subscribe to me for more unorthodox AI business advice and how to get into it, if you want to learn more about my businesses and work with my agency for your AI transformation for your business, or you want to join my free school community and sort of watch my free course on how to start an AI business and all that sort of jazz, it's all in the description below. But yeah, that's all the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see some of you spawn trappers getting on this stuff on YouTube and getting a lot of success with it. So I'll see you in the next one. See you later.